Assalamu alaikum, family. Eid Mubarak. Welcome to the Sajda channel, where we talk about life, love, and business. I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. And I like to see myself as, and I've been called a global thought leader. And that's what I do. Help us think, help us move to that next level through changing our psychology and how our mind works. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. You know, that little discrimination that happens, that's little to you, but it's big to us, where you discriminate against us or kind of shun us and our businesses because we are Black people who practice Islam in America. So let's talk about that a little bit today. We ain't mad about it. We just want you to know we're here and we see you and we want you to see us. So be a friend, tell a friend. We're going to talk a little bit from my book, The Art and Science of Business. I'm going to talk about a white paper that I put together and some of the work that we have coming up on the new evening edition of the Sajda Coffee Talks that will be starting very soon. All right, be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll be right back after these few short commercials and a beautiful prayer.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Sajda channel. I am your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. I am so excited to be here with you today. Eid Mubarak. We did it, y'all. Man, what a beautiful Ramadan. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, right? Just amazing. Wow. It's just, there's so much I'm still just kind of getting and downloading that I was personally blessed with during Ramadan. So as soon as I kind of get it together, I'll share it. So a couple things I want to tell you all about. I mentioned to you that we're going to have the Sajda Coffee Talks evening edition. I'm thinking about Tuesday night. And you all let me know what you think. I'm thinking Tuesday night, 7 or 8 p.m. Let me know what you think, because it's the evening edition. And so we want to, give everybody time to get off work. Those of us who are spiritual morning people, we're still keeping the morning coffee talks. Don't worry. This is a new series that's going to be covering some new things that I'm working on. One of which is dealing with antitrust and anti-competitive behaviors that are impeding those of us who are American citizens who happen to practice Islam in America. This is a very important topic. A lot of us have businesses, and I just had a brother tell me the other day, he said, my business is so cold that I know that if I wasn't a Muslim, it would have taken off by now. And I said, I agree. And a lot of it is not, and we're not talking about addressing people's personal preferences. If you just say, you know what, I'm just not really feeling it, that's fine. But what we are addressing is when you systemically and individually even do things to impede our progress. We're going to start having conversations about that, saying something about it, and even filing lawsuits. Because a lot of us are out here working way too hard. And some of us have accepted sort of this form of deprivation and this form of suffering as a way of life. But we're going to speak up and we're going to say something. And so we're going to start working to raise the awareness, because we suffer from a level of discrimination, not only from the broader population, but sometimes even from our own people. And it's a combination of hate, misunderstanding, even jealousy, even just straight dislike. That's fine. You can have all of those. But what's going to stop is blocking us from business. You're going to stop using us behind the scenes and having us on your committees and on your Zooms. And then when it comes time to have a big stage, you scared to put us up there because you're so afraid that somebody's going to say something to you. Well, we're going to just start addressing that today. And I think as a people, we have to be a little bit more strategic about it. Before I read through this chapter of my book, let me give you some data to give you context. And if you have a business, you should be paying attention to this kind of data, especially if you cater to Black people. I don't know if you realize it or not, but there's data out here that shows that 60% of millennials are religious, believe it or not. And I'm gonna give some of that, but the American identity, and it's time for us to start accepting this. We have this binary approach to identity here in America that we have to start addressing. A lot of that was a colonizer's way of just categorizing and putting people in a group or in a box. Okay. Even among Black people, we have to start understanding that our identity as Black people here in America is very complicated and it's intersectional. Meaning what? Some of us come from indigenous, what they call Native Americans, who either were or were not enslaved, who, by the way, were here before Columbus and were Black. Some of us are descendants of those that were brought over on slave ships. A lot of us are mixed with all kinds. When they threw us in the slave ships, they didn't say, we're going to keep the Mandinkas over here, the Igbos over here, the Hausas over here. They didn't say that. If you're Christian, you go over here. No, they mixed us all together, put us on the plantation, bred us all together. And so they created us, who are these superhumans, these messianic people, that a level of discrimination has been yielded against us for many, many, many years. And for us as Black people here in America, me personally, I love the term Black because we're all mixed up with so many kind of people. I remember when I did my DNA, they told me, they say, you are Fulani on both sides of your family, which is rare. But I also have some indigenous American in me. I also have some white. So we are a complicated intersection of identities here in America. And then when you mix in our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, who are our cousins, because we were all on the same ship, they just made several stops along the way. And then you think about our uncles, if you will, and aunties who are here from the continent. So we have to stop buying into this simpleton binary identity of ourselves. But for us as Black Americans, we are a new tribe, if you will. We're literally almost like a new race of people. And we are powerful. We have the most powerful culture on the planet. And within that culture, the influence of Islam is extremely powerful. And so on both sides of the coin, it's time for us to start embracing who we are so that we're not code switching when we go out in the public. But at the same time, the other side is stop discriminating against us. Stop putting your foot on our neck and stopping us. I even see people who are not Muslims, who are Black, get jealous if we get certain professional accolades because somehow they've adopted this colonizer mindset that we ain't supposed to get nothing. Or if they've been code switching, they mad because we ain't code switching. So the popular misconception about Muslims among many Americans is that Muslims are most commonly people of Arab and South Asian ethnicities. In fact, 20 to 25% of the American Muslim population is Black. Even in the early 20th century, when Islam had very little presence in most parts of the United States, the religion had a foothold in many Black urban communities. We know why, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Today, though, Black people, and I'm not talking about those of Hispanic descent or mixed race, we make up 20% or more of the country's overall Muslim population, according to the 2017 Pew Research Center survey. Reason why I say or more, because that 20% probably represents those that have identified as Muslim. It ain't counting the people who are code switching. It ain't counting the people who grew up in Islam and saying, I ain't going to say nothing because it's going to impact my professionalism. That's why I know that number is off. about half of Black Muslims, 49%, are converts to Islam. That is a very high level of conversion. So of those 20% that they've identified, 50% of them are converts. Again, which tells me that that number is even off. By contrast, only 15% of non-Black Muslims are converts. Okay? Black Muslims are like Black Americans overall in that we have high levels of religious commitment. Again, I always reference Brother Bedford's work and Dennis Kimbrough's work, where when they interview Black millionaires and Black successful people, almost all of them talked about how important their religion or some form of spirituality or some acknowledgement of a power greater than themselves to their success. Okay. But here's another interesting thing. I didn't bring my statistics on the millennials, but I'll give that. I'll save it. Okay. But grab your copy of The Art and Science of Business. All right. And if you don't have it yet, use this QR code or go to artandscienceofbusiness.com and order the book. You're going to need it for our evening series to help you kind of level set. A lot of us are upset about things that we see happening in this country, around the world. But I just want to say to us that anger is not a strategy. Okay. The anger can fuel you to be strategic, but anger alone, being upset alone, fussing alone, gossiping alone, talking smack alone, being mad alone is not a strategy. The strategy is the strategy, and the strategy needs to include others in the community because, again, we are very intersectional. Every program that I work on, we are working to make sure that many aspects of our community as Black people are represented, because we are not a monolith, and we need to be the first ones to break out of this colonized way of thinking where you just dump all Black people in a bucket. Even among those of us who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there's diversity. So we have to unite around a common cause. And that is, in fact, one of the things that his mission is doing. If you look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, everything about his life says diversity. Let me go to the book. Let me go to page 275. Here's the other thing I want to say. When we recognize the diversity amongst us, we won't be so quick to criticize one another. We won't be so quick to say, well, I'm going to sabotage that person, because we got to understand that this is a puzzle, and it's a very complicated puzzle. And a lot of us come to the table with different divine assignments. My divine assignment may be different from yours, although there may be aspects of it that are the same, that we can unite around. But it's going to take us embracing our diversity in order for us to be able to be free as a people. See, when we just say it's only this particular type of Black person and whatever box we've checked to define that type, then that's going to limit us. Do you think the infinite God that we serve would just say only this one particular type of people can contribute? That's why I tell everybody, no matter what you've been through in your life, if you're cleaning up now, there are skill sets from how Allah allowed you to be made that can be used for the resurrection of yourself and our people. You may say, I grew up around, certain seedy kind of people, gangsters, pimps. Well, guess what? Clean up the product. Let's be legal. Let's be righteous. Let's go about this thing in a manner that is pleasing to Allah. But I bet you there's some skill sets that you learned growing up that can be advantageous to what it is that we're doing. You may say, hey, I grew up in a family with a lot of people who did drugs. A lot of people were addicted. You may say you were addicted yourself to drugs. But guess what? Now that you're cleaning up and you're working to live a different lifestyle, you have a skill set that can help somebody else. You may say, you know what? Everybody in my family's been to prison. And you may say, okay, you just got out of prison. Guess what? There is a process, a mindset, and a skill set that you bring to the table that can help somebody else. You may say, I was abused. You may say that you suffered some type of domestic violence or maybe some type of sexual abuse. Something like that. Guess what? As you begin your healing journey, there are skill sets that you bring to the table that are going to help somebody else. So this Willie Lynch stuff, we got to stop it. We have to stop it. Stop being a hater. Stop being jealous. Stop being competitive, because it is all of those impediments, as the minister teaches us in our study guides, that are impacting our ability to progress. All right. Page 275. Since the departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1975, Black Muslims in America have faced an exorbitant amount of economic discrimination, both individually and collectively. Now, and I'm in no way saying that prior to 1975, that this kind of discrimination did not exist. I'm starting from the point where the success that was built prior to 75 has been dismantled, not only just in the Nation of Islam, but in other organizations as well. There has been a concerted effort to block and hold Black people down, specifically those that practice Islam. One of the think tanks that I work with, we are working to come up with a number, because we want to figure out how much money has been spent over the years and how much is spent annually in an effort to hold us back and hold us down. That money alone would probably cover the deficit. But I won't speak ahead of our research and what we're working on. In America's business landscape, discrimination often wears many disguises. For Black Muslims, the challenge is not a single form of bias, but a layered, compounded experience, a collision of anti-Black racism and Islamophobia. Why is this important? Because a lot of people want to expand their spirituality beyond what they learned growing up. A lot of people want to embrace another way of being and another way of living, but they're afraid. And somebody said to me the other day, well, Sasaja, if people scared, they just scared. Okay, that's fine. But I'm representing the scared people too. Okay. Some people scared to even follow How to Eat to Live and didn't start following it until the white scientists said, well, you know what? Intermittent fasting is the fastest way to heal your body. Interesting, right? But it's real. So this is a double invisibility. which means that the economic and professional struggles of Black Muslims are often erased from both conversations on race and discussions on religious discrimination. So when they're talking about racial discrimination, nobody talks about, or rarely is it talked about, the discrimination that we face as Black people who practice Islam. They forget about that. Even in the broader Islamic community, they don't include us. They don't come get us and say, hey, what y'all going through? They have all kind of places where they can call in. They have groups, they organize, and all praise is due to Allah. That's good. But we're not included in that. So we have to build our own. We're not navigating a tilted plane. We're navigating what I call a tilted playing field. We're contending with a marketplace designed to keep us in the margins, to keep us marginalized. That was the origin of how I came up with my first book, The Mind of an Entrepreneur, mental strategies to help marginalized people navigate the world of business. Who are those marginalized people that I was talking about? Well, the shoe of marginalization can be fit on just about anybody, but I'm talking about Black Muslims who are striving to just navigate and live in the world. The level of discrimination that we face, how we are blocked, how we are poisoned, how we are neglected. This is very real. But just like our broader community, our broader Black community, despite everything that's been done to us and continues to be done to us, we continue to win. And we continue to be successful, and we continue to remain focused on making our communities a better place to live. See, if in part of our religious or spiritual practice is to make our community a better place to live, isn't that somebody that you want to rent your retail space to? Isn't that somebody that you want on the program? Isn't that somebody that you want policing your community? Because a lot of people are not about that. A lot of people are like, look, I'm about to get mine. I don't really care what's going on. I don't care how many people got shot in the community. I don't care how much trash is in the street. But it is the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that give us the marching orders to make our community a better place to live. If you see us, we cleaning up and shoveling snow, we probably going to clean up and get your place too. We're going to get the trash out the street. We're going to go talk to whoever's committing crime in the community and say, hey, you see our brothers walking women to their cars, being on the alert and lookout, making sure that they're okay. There's countless stories about sisters being at gas stations and having problems, and a Muslim brother, whether he is obvious to you or not, but somebody with these teachings in their mindset have jumped up to help and save that person. And we do that regardless of what race you are. This is a group of people that you want at your table because we are already trained to do the heavy lifting that you may not feel like doing, but we're trained for that. So it's not enough to just say, hey, come be part of our backdoor program. No, show the world the benefit that you are getting from partnering with us and working with us. And don't be so scared all the time. See, because all this being scary ain't getting us nowhere. When we are being discriminated against as Black people, they not saying, are you Muslim? Are you white? Are you this or that? They not, are you white, half white or whatever? It's just the discrimination is just the discrimination. They ain't saying, are you African? Are you this? Are you that? No. I remember having this conversation way back when I was in college. And on campus, there were a few Africans who oftentimes wanted to act like they didn't want to associate with us. And I said, do you really think that when they're discriminating against Black people on campus, because it ain't but 600 of us out of 30,000 students, and a third of us are African, but y'all sitting up acting like you don't want to talk to us, guess what? They're not making a distinction between us. We are making that distinction. And because they know we make that distinction, all they got to do is just sit back and can de facto hold back those of us that are Black as a collective. And then those that have the double and triple layers like us as Black Muslims, Black Muslim women, they already know they can push us to the bottom. But still we rise and still we win. The scope of this bias became starkly clear in the aftermath of 9/11, when the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission reported a 250% surge in discrimination claims from Muslim Americans. These cases included wrongful termination, harassment, and refusals to accommodate religious practices. For Black Muslims who already faced entrenched anti-Black prejudice in the workplace, the added stigma of being visibly Muslim, especially for those wearing hijab, headpiece, draped scarf, or kufi, doubled the barriers. The 2015 Supreme Court case EEOC versus Abercrombie and Fitch underscored the issue. The court ruled that refusing to hire a Muslim woman for wearing a hijab violated Title VII. Yet, while this decision was heralded as a victory for religious freedom, many Black Muslims report that subtle forms of exclusion persist, interviews cut short, contracts mysteriously delayed, and opportunities, quietly withdrawn. The discrimination extends beyond hiring. In the world of finance, Black Muslims encounter what researchers call banking while Muslim. Okay? There's heightened scrutiny, arbitrary delays, and outright denials, where literally people don't want to lend to us sometimes because we practice Islam. And I don't even think I need to tell you, but I may need to. We would be in a different condition as Black people in America were it not for example, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad bringing Islam and the knowledge of Islam to the Black community and to the world. We'd be in a different place. You can sneak off and go buy your shea butter and sneak off and get you some incense and sneak off and grab you a paper and sneak off and, get your oils and stuff. But you and I both know the elephant in the room is that people take from us what knowledge and things like that we have to offer, and we're here to give it freely. That's what we're taught to do. But if you're benefiting, don't turn around and then discriminate. Ooh, there's so much I could say about that. All right. Let's see. According to a study by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, 24% of Muslims report difficulty accessing banking or loan services, with Black Muslims disproportionately represented in that figure. These challenges are not only financial inconveniences, they choke off the lifeblood of entrepreneurship. Without loans, business accounts, or access to fair credit terms, promising ventures remain ideas on paper instead of thriving enterprises. And you know what? You cannot get on TV and claim that you are God-fearing and God-loving, and then you are just actively working to keep your foot on the neck of a specific group of people who, at the end of the day, may be the very people to save your life in your community as you move around the city. Because despite what you're practicing, we have not been taught to discriminate against you or anybody else. That's not what we are taught. We are taught to make our communities a better place to live. We've been taught that level of service now for over 90 years, almost 100 years. And we continue to do it no matter what you do to us. So instead of being jealous because we're committed and we believe in something, partner with us because we're going to make sure that you benefit as well. And this ain't begging. What I'm just saying is get your foot off our neck, because we're going to start saying something. We're going to start talking. We're going to start saying, hey, this ain't right. You're not going to keep discriminating us and preventing us from doing what we've been commissioned to do again, which is make our communities a better place to live. Retail and consumer spaces also offer no refuge. Black Muslims are subject to racial profiling, familiar to many Black Americans, being followed by store employees, denied service, or treated as potential thieves. But layered into that is religious profiling. Suspicion triggered by a hijab, a headpiece, a kufi, or an Arabic name. While hard statistics on this dual discrimination are scarce, countless personal accounts mirror broader findings on shopping while Black, a systemic bias that quietly but consistently erodes dignity and limits economic participation. I am asking even our elected officials, let's begin to expose this behavior so that more of us in this country can help again to make our community a better place to live. We are asking for support from our elected officials so that when we bring these cases to you, you can help us, whether if we're filing a lawsuit, if we want, there's laws in place. There's already antitrust and anti-competitive laws that are already in place that we just need you to help us enforce. We just need you to enforce. But I get it. You can't enforce the law if we don't say anything. And so we're going to start saying something. The inequities also extend into state-sanctioned surveillance. Long before 9/11, law enforcement agencies targeted Black Muslims under the guise of national security. Programs like Countering Violent Extremism disproportionately monitored Black Muslim communities, creating an atmosphere of distrust and fear. For entrepreneurs, this meant that community events, mosque fundraisers, or cultural festivities could be infiltrated by informants or police, chilling economic activity and community-based business networking. So even when our mosques and our organizations try to have events or open up businesses, the discrimination is there, either by overcharging or not trying your best not to do a good job, sending in informants and mercenaries to try to destroy our businesses. And then we don't find out till they on their deathbed that they was there on behalf of a particular agency or something like that. This has to stop. And if you all about money and not the humanity side of it, when this stops, you can stop spending the money to hold us down, but you also will benefit from the business that we generate. See, we're not anti-society people. We're not criminals running around trying to steal something from America. Under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there was more sales tax paid to the state of Illinois from the Muslim businesses than most organizations in the city. I got the data and I'm going to prove it to you. All right. So taken together, the employment discrimination, banking exclusion, retail profiling, and targeted surveillance, the cumulative effect is not merely financial harm, it is a psychological harm. It creates an environment where Black Muslims question their safety in professional spaces, where every deal feels provisional, and where business success requires constant navigation of racial and religious minefields. Even before somebody give us a check, it's like, okay, can you scrub your account? Can you denounce this person? Where else do they do that? And how much money are y'all spending, wasting, trying to hold back the very people who have continued to strive to self-improve and make our communities a better place to live, despite all of what you all have done. We are the magnification of that process in our community. Just like us as Black people, we all wearing a crown that some of our ancestors bought and paid for. Well, we're not excluded from that as Black Americans who practice Islam. We are your brothers and sisters from the same ancestry. Again, let me tell y'all, stop thinking like a colonizer and thinking that everything is binary. We serve an infinite God who has placed an infinite number of things on many people's hearts and minds. And so in order to raise us up out of this condition, there's a lot of us that have different assignments. A lot of us that have different assignments. Those assignments oftentimes have labels that society has given us. Okay, what's the Black church doing? What's the mosque doing? What's this community doing? What's that community doing? But the bottom line is, if we rise above all of those labels, rise above all of the Willie Lynch, and look at the fact that God is giving out assignments today. And he's showing up in different ways because this is a multifactorial problem. All right. Despite these challenges, Black Muslims have remained builders, founding businesses, creating jobs, protecting the community, driving cultural innovation. And let me tell you something, if you're trying to get elected and you have an incumbent and the margins are tight, you better swing over to see what you can do for the Black Muslims in that constituency, because we can help you. But the question is, how are you going to look out for us? The data makes one thing clear. Unless these dual layers of discrimination are confronted head on, the economic impact of Black Muslims will remain stifled, and America will lose out on the wealth, innovation, and leadership they could bring to the national economy. All right. A few other quick things I'm just going to say. Let's just do some historical things. We got about 10 minutes left. From the founding of the United States to the present, Black Muslim entrepreneurs have faced compounded discrimination. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again so that you get it in your head and get out of binary thinking. The combined force of anti-Black racism, religious prejudice, systemic economic exclusion. And while the rhetoric of equal opportunity has grown louder, the reality for many remains a cycle of denied loans, shuttered contracts, algorithmic bias, and targeted surveillance. The discrimination is not new. It is the continuation of a historical pattern stretching from early 20th century redlining to modern counterterrorism programs disproportionately targeting Muslim business owners. And guess what? All of you all, most of the time that do business with us, you make money. You make money because we have access to a market that you don't necessarily have access to. Do you know that you really probably can't just jump up and start a company and start selling to the Black Muslim community? But we can. And through us selling and supporting the Black Muslim community, we can then impact our broader Black community and ultimately that powerful culture that you make so much money off of. Here's the historical parallels, okay? You have COINTELPRO, an economic disruption from 1956 to 1971. I'm just starting there. The FBI's counterintelligence program targeted Black leaders and organizations, including the Nation of Islam, under the guise of national security. Surveillance was coupled with economic sabotage. Landlords pressured to evict Muslim businesses. Banks warned against lending to Nation of Islam affiliated enterprises, and municipalities denying permits for property acquisition. Guess what? We are some of the most consistent people in our community. And had you lent to us back then, had you done business to us back then, you might not be facing some of the financial turbulence that you're facing today. Because if we can be this consistent, despite everything that's going on against us, how consistent do you think we can be if some of those foots get off of our neck? Then there's redlining and loan denials. The 1930s to the 1970s, though redlining is often framed as a housing issue, it also denied Black entrepreneurs access to commercial property and business loans. In many cities, Black Muslims were doubly excluded. First, for being Black. Second, for being perceived as politically un-American or religiously radical. That is such an oxymoron, because how can us exercising our religious freedoms be un-American? And how can it be radical in America? And what evidence do you have that we are violent or radical or un-American. You don't have any. You don't have any. Because we are not exhorted to violence. We are taught that no matter what community we go in, we work to stabilize that community. We are a good investment because in nature of what's been taught to us. And even when you do stuff, we're not taught to hurt, harm, or attack. We are strategic. We are, let me just keep going. Post 9/11 economic profiling, 2001 to present. After September 11th, Muslim-owned businesses, including those owned by Black Muslims, were subject to heightened law enforcement scrutiny. Banks closed accounts without notice, citing compliance with anti-terrorism regulations. Muslim restaurants, markets, and import-export companies reported steep drops in customers due to fear and stigma. I'm going to stop right there. There's more here where I go into the modern reality patterns of economic discrimination, where I go into access to capital, contract and procurement, retail and consumer bias, digital marketplace suppression, which is the new one, employment wages. So get a copy of the book, Art and Science of Business. I also have in here a legislative blueprint and some framing for reparations, and the new white paper that I talked about that's coming out that addresses this on a local level, that inshallah can be a blueprint for us to use around the country per se. All right. Okay, family. If you are enjoying this content, please make sure that you like and subscribe. We get a lot of views, which we see on the back end when we look at the data. Even some of our shorts, getting several thousand views. But because you guys aren't necessarily liking and subscribing, it may look to somebody else that the views aren't there. But we thank you for the views that are there. But we want you, in addition, to please subscribe. And also, you can help us out by giving a love offering. And I call it a love offering because we are offering this information out of love, out of support, to help see us become liberated as a people. But more so than that, so that we can make our own communities a better place to live by allowing us to enter into international trade, finance, and the economics of that community. We're going to enter it anyway, but we're saying, look, we're going to start talking about some of the discrimination that we face, and giving the opportunity for these laws that are on the books to be able to be used to help protect some of these businesses. So this is not, those of us that are super Muslims, I don't want you looking at this like, I remember when, well, I'm going to say it this way. I don't want you looking at this like, why are we begging? Why are we? No, we are working to help support a community that we live in. And we're going to stop taking the discrimination and the abuse. And so it's multifactorial. Okay. There's all kind of layers to this, but we're going to continue to work cheerfully. What kind of leader tells his people? That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us. He said, work cheerfully. Be happy. Stop worrying. Support. Help people. Do you know how many non-Muslim people was at the table of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Do you know how many non-Black people came to the table to, hey, say, to sit down and say, hey, can you support us? Can you help us? We're not that people that you see in the press or that they put in the press. That is a propaganda or a PR campaign that a lot of people have bought into. It's a lie. It's not who we are. Okay, anyway, yeah. So love offering, if you want to continue to support, you can go to Cash App, Sajda Enterprises. No amount is too small, and definitely no amount is too large. Okay, we want to continue to bring this type of programming to you. We've got the evening edition coming up, so stay tuned for that. I'm just still working on and working through and laying it out. I finished most of it yesterday, but I just need to go back and pray on it a little bit and focus on it. And then we'll start announcing and putting some of the promo together. But it's important for you all to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button. So even if you forget when we're going live, whether it's in the morning, we're going to show some reruns and help you catch up on past episodes. You can do that on, Facebook or Instagram. Instagram, you can just go through yourself, but we'll show some of those today and some of our clips. But yeah, support. All right, family. If you have no questions, no comments, thank you to each and every one of you for being here this morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all of your love and continued support. And I am wishing you more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. May you live your life and do business in a manner that is pleasing to Almighty God, Allah. Let's reduce some of that stress and let's do what we got to do to make our presence known and to speak up when things are not right. Brother Reginald, are there any in-person meetings or classes? Sorry, it went up. Classes where we are strategically planning to economically develop our community. There are, and I am working on some of those as well. So you all will get some information about that with the ecosystem that we're building. And just kind of mining out, because I get it that everybody doesn't have the same interest, doesn't have the same goals. And, there's going to be mercenaries and informants and agents that are going to try to come among us. So we're moving in a certain manner so that we can weed some of that out. We know it comes with the territory, but we just want to make sure that we're mindful of it. So the answer to your question, Brother Reginald, is yes. Brother George says, hello, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. Can you tell me if your platform is for education or information only, or are you also building communities by doing Zoom classes? So my platform is about education and about development. So my platform is education and development. I help people to develop businesses in a specific manner. I help to educate both adults and youth on how to build conscious enterprises. So it's development and education. There's also some advocacy work that I do and some liaison work that I do with our elected officials, and having those conversations and finding ways to help them to strategically be able to introduce legislation and support us so that we can get the truth out there and begin to liberate, people in general. You said, are you building communities by doing Zoom classes? No, right now we don't have any Zoom classes that are built unless you are part of some of our development networks and things like that. We may do something like that in the future. But right now, my platform is development and education. So one of the reasons why I come out here is to help us with development, giving business tools and mental strategies to help us navigate the world of business, but then also being a support and information network where people can learn more and gain motivation. My work, Brother George, is primarily to help people who are already builders. I do have people that I work with who help make builders, people who are saying, I'm not a builder at all. For me, a lot of my platform is if you are a builder, then my platform is for you. Okay, and we'll define what builder is in the future. Any other questions? Any other questions before we go? It's 7:01. I'm gonna get out of here. I don't see any other questions, and since I don't see any other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Okay, so make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and give a love offering, because a lot of these things, a lot of these guests that we're going to be having on, some of them charge, and others don't. Some get it and just say, no, I'm coming on to help and support. The platform's not free, and even for a lot of our youth, I give them books as textbooks, so that they can utilize that to learn. And I check all of your boxes. Okay, praise be to Allah. Akua Mukoa Akwa says, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Wendy. I emailed you via your website. I look forward to conversing with you soon, inshallah. Okay, all right. Thank you, Akua. I will look for that email today. And if you don't hear from me, or sometimes things get sabotaged, we try to pay a lot. Actually, we do pay a lot for cybersecurity, which is what I was just going to say. Part of the Cash App helps with. Our Black Muslim Business Directory got sabotaged by cybersecurity. That's a real thing. You even seen the prayer line trying to get hacked. And so just in case that happens, you can email me, brother Ikua, at mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. That's mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. One more time, mindofanentrepreneur@gmail.com. I think that's easier than me typing in the chat, so we can get out of here. All right. May Allah bless each and every one of you with more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. And remember, it's not personal, it's vibrational. And remember that anger is not a strategy. Anger can be your fuel, but you got to strategize. We got to unite. We got to pool our resources. All right. Assalamu alaikum, family. Love you all.